friends. We're going to have lots of fun with the Spellbinders Oh What Fun Christmas kit. Let's get into card number one. Card number one, I'm using this red patterned paper, and I've cut that with a small scalloped die, and it's slightly smaller than our card base in the kit. I've then cut a large fishtail banner out of the ornament paper, and I'm going to attach that to the left hand side of my card, layering that over top of the red sprinkles paper. And I'm making sure that's attached firmly. Then I've taken one of our oval shaped dies, put that on some foam tape, and I've also traced around the oval shape with a pencil and cut out roughly an oval to be the backing paper behind the frame. I'm just showing you there. I've also taken two of our ornaments from the die cut pack. I've popped them up on little pieces of foam, and I've also attached a piece of gold twine to act as the strings for the ornaments. Now I have to get those ornaments into position before I attach the frame. So once I'm happy with how the ornaments are sitting, I can then take off the backing of my sticky tape and then trim my ornament strings to be nice and tidy. I'm then going to take our oval shape and attach that over top of our fishtail banner. And I'll just take a little bit of time to make sure I've got that oval frame firmly attached. Now I've cut out from the small die of the month the sentiment cheer enclosed, and I'm going to attach a third ornament or bauble underneath the sentiment. So I need to make sure I know exactly where I'm going to position the ornament and attach that to my card. Then I'm going to take the enclosed, which is also popped up on foam, and I'm going to make sure that my ornament string sits nice and flat and straight underneath each of the different segments of the sentiment. So you can see there I'm using one hand to hold the string nice and straight and taut while I finish attaching the sentiments. Once I'm happy with that, I will trim off my excess twine and then use a small amount of glue to hold that twine in place so it's level with the red layer of paper. And I'm just going to hold my twine in place with my reverse tweezers while I go ahead and add some of the lovely iridescent sequins from our kit. And I'm going to place 3 just sort of randomly inside the frame. I'm then going to go ahead and add a few more of those pretty sequins on the outside of the frame all around the actual sentiment to help draw attention to the ornament on that side and the sentiment as well. And once they're all in place, that'll finish that card. My second card uses the very bright center paper, and I've cut that out in a scallop frame, and I'm going to attach that onto my card base in a landscape position, and just want to take my time and make sure I get my frame actually straight. And while I'm using the liquid glue, that gives me the opportunity to give it a little bit of wriggle and get it positioned in the place where I need it to be. I'm then filling in the inside of the frame with another bright pink that matches in nicely with lots of Christmas sentiments across it. And I'm going to use some Love from Lizzie gold peel-offs, and I've chosen the widest width in the peel-off pack, and I'm going to go all the way around the inside frame of our border there. I just felt it in the patterned paper with all the words needed to be separated from that frame to help differentiate between the two papers. I've chosen a coordinating frame and I've backed that with some clear acetate and then popped some foam tape on there. That's going to be the basis for my shaker. I found some red, not quite bead or glitter, somewhere in between the two, that I'm going to use as a filler for my shaker, and it makes a really nice sound when you do shake the shaker. And I'm just going around with my paintbrush there, making sure I haven't got any of the red fill um, in any place where my frame's going to sit, just so I can assure that I've got good stick with my frame. Just get that in position and final wriggle, and then press down firmly and let it sit for a moment to allow the glue to set. I've used our small die of the month again to cut out the phrase joyous wishes, and I've cut that in the red and the gold, and that's going to match in really nicely with the papers I've chosen. Helps bring out the red in the Santa hat paper. So I'm going to attach my sentiments going across my shaker, so the joyous fits in nicely across the left hand top side, and then the wishes fits in nicely on the bottom left hand side. I'll give that time to dry, and I've made myself a little Santa. I've used clear sparkle pen on his hat, and I've also done trim and pom-pom using the latest Nouveau Dream Drop that has a creamy white base with a gold pearl through it, and it turned out really pretty, I think. And now I'm going to pop some foam onto the back side of Santa, and that's going to be the side that isn't going to be attached to the actual shaker frame, so it needs popping up to keep it level. So my Santa's going to go nicely in the top right hand corner of the shaker, and then I've also gone ahead and used some of the dream drops just on the center of that stocking. I'm then going to pop a little bit of foam on the bottom of my stocking for the same reason, to help my stocking stay nice and level in the parts where it's not attached to the frame. And once that's done, we're going to go ahead and take some of our puffy stickers from the puffy sentiment sheet, and I've chosen to come in with some of the white snowflakes. I just wanted to add a little bit more detail to the bottom left corner and some more white to balance out the amount of white that we have in the right corner with Santa. And just placing those in position there, making sure they're nicely attached and removing any excess glue in between. And that's Santa all shaken up and ready to go to a happy recipient in the very near future. I thought I was finished with the card, and then I decided, well, why not bring in those dream drops again and put a little detail onto the snowflakes on the puffy stickers. Seeing as I did the snowflakes on the stocking, I thought I should do the snowflakes that I've added in addition. And now my card is finished. Let's jump into card number 3. Card number 3, I've taken the really useful oval die set here that was a gift we've purchased from scrapbook.com, and I've cut out 2 of ovals and then used an embossing folder on the smallest green oval, to then give it some pattern that looks like snow. I'll put these to the side while I finish the background of my card. So I'm taking a piece of the dark green paper that looks like has stars on it, and I'm creating a band across the middle of my card. I've taken some scraps of gold cardstock, and I'm going to make a border on either side of my green band. And this is cardstock not from the kit, but just like I said, was leftover pieces from another project, and they were the perfect size to use on this card. Now I'll come in and glue my large red oval over top of the band we've created in the middle of our card, and just lining that up so it looks even. I'll then come in with our smaller green oval and I'll attach that to the centre of our large red oval. Now I'm going to come in with one of our frames, and I have challenged myself to try and use as many frames as I could in this video. And so here I am using the nice dark green and gold oval shaped frame, and I'm going to use that to draw attention to the centerpiece, which is going to be the really cute gingerbread house. I'll place that in the center of my oval frame. I've also stamped and then cut myself a little fishtail banner and added that to the bottom of my frame. I'm then going to come in and add a little bit more embellishment using the chipboard stickers, and I've chosen the 3 snowflake stickers to add as finishing touches to my card. Now, card number 4. I'm going to cover the whole front of my card, and then I'm attaching a fishtail banner that is going to run almost the complete length of our card front, and I'm placing that in the center of our card. That's going to be the background or the area that I'm placing these 2 frames that I'm going to make into shakers. Now for the backing paper, I just traced around the frames themselves and then cut them out to fit into the back of my frames. I'm bringing in some Nuvo iridescent triangles to use as my filler for my shaker frames. I'm just adding some glue there. I'll then attach my red background paper to the frame and then allow that to dry with my acrylic blocks on top. I'll get my second frame ready exactly the same way, and then I'll place the blocks on top of it and give it time to dry. Once they have had time to dry, I'm going to bring in some of the die cuts from our pack, and I'm going to give my poor old polar bear a bit of a snip. So he looks like he's popping out and looking out at us from the shaker card. So I've cut him, and I'm just going to glue him in place in the bottom left-hand corner of my shaker. And there he is, all very cute, ready to go. I've then also chosen the snowman to go into my second frame, and I just needed to trim a little bit of the backing paper from my shaker. Now I can go ahead, and Mr. Snowman is also going to get the chop so he can fit into the frame as well. And I'll go ahead and I'll add glue to him, making sure that I don't have any large amounts of glue in any places so that it doesn't smush out onto the clear acetate. Now I'm going to use my T-ruler to help me line up the bottom shaker element, and I'm pretty confident once I've got that one level and in place, it'll be easy enough for me to then just eye that I've got the snowman shaker in the correct place. And I will attach that just above my polar bear. I've embossed 2 sentiments. One says Merry Christmas and the other one Warm Wishes. And some of these sentiments that you see me using come from the Stamp Club of the month. So I'm placing my Merry Christmas in the middle, overlapping the 2 shakers, and then the Warm Wishes will sit down in the bottom right hand corner of our polar bear. I've then added a little more gold to the card by using some Love from Lizzie peel-offs down the outside edge of my fishtail banner, and I'm then going to come in with some of those puffy snowflake stickers, and I'm just going to come in and add 3 of them, and I am adding glue to the back of them. I just don't feel that the puffy stickers are quite sticky enough to make me feel secure that they're going to stay permanently attached and in place, and the glue just makes sure that that will happen. Okay, so there's my card finished. For card number 5, I've chosen some of the dark green paper that I've used earlier in a card as the main background for this card, and I'm then going to layer on top this really pretty gold and white check pattern, and that is cut slightly smaller than our card base. And then on top of that, I'm going to add this floral design as one of the main focals. Once I have that attached, I'm bringing in a gold and white striped frame and adding a little bit of glue to make sure we've got good adhesion and a little bit of wiggle room if I don't get it quite centered. To the frame, I'm then going to come in with some of our pretty poinsettias and layer those around the frame. I've chosen some red and some pinks to match back in with the floral paper that we have in the foreground. And there's some little holly berries, so I'm using a variety of size, shapes and colours when I'm creating my embellishment for my card. And once I've got that positioned where I'm happy, I will then go ahead and do a mirror image of that in the top left corner. I like the symmetry that laying out your embellishments or die cuts this way gives you. Now, some of the flowers will be supported with some foam tape underneath the edges where they don't overlap the gold and white frame, and that just keeps everything nice and level and no droops where I don't want droops. So now that I've got those attached, I've come in with our Merry Christmas sentiment, and I believe this one is from the stamp set for the month. And I've gold embossed that, and it looks really pretty back against the floral paper and the gold background paper I've got there as well. I've chosen some of the sequins that I will then place around the card in different positions, tucking them underneath the sentiment so there's a little bit of sparkle popping out, and I'll do the same with the sequins, just popping them behind some of the flowers. Now, I'm not necessarily trying to have my sequins in balance or symmetrical to each other. These are more just to give the eye somewhere to travel around the card and to make pretty sparkles. I decided I wanted to go around my outside frame for my patterned paper with the flowers, just to help that stand out from the gold and white check. And now I'm using my glossy accents just to go in and put some dotted details in the center of my flowers. And that again will give some lovely texture and more dimension. So I'm really trying to bring that frame and the flowers right into the foreground, and then the layers behind the pattern paper receding back, giving some more dimension to the card. I'm also going to put some glossy accents onto the little berries of the holly, and that will complete my card. Card number 6, I am covering the front of our card base with this lovely pink pattern paper that has some of the holly on, and then I'm going to attach a piece of the white cardstock from our kit, and I've embossed that with the embossing folder of the month, and where the ornaments are you'll see some sparkle. I've gone over top with a scrapbook.com sparkle pen just to help those dimensional ornaments pop out from the background. I'm then creating a band across the middle of the card out of the same paper as the background on the card base. I've got myself an oval circle frame, sorry, just an oval frame, not a circle, and I've traced around it onto the checked paper you see there so that I have a backdrop for my frame. Now the frame is popped up with some foam tape, and I'm going to glue that on top of my red checkered patterned paper. I'm using the snow globe die cut piece, and I'm just showing you there I've used some 1mm thick foam pads so that the snow globe is popped up but not to the same level as my frame. So that is going to be the centerpiece of our card, all nicely framed. And now I'm going to take some gold pieces of peel-offs from Love from Lizzie, and I'm going to use that to frame around that belly band or the band in the middle of my card. To finish up, I've put a nice thin layer of glossy accents over the snow globe, and that's my card finished. Card number 7, I had lots of fun playing with the gingerbread men in our stamp set, and you can see I've got them sitting there coloured in with Tim Holtz watercolour pencils, and then I've added little gem details to the buttons down their belly. So I have attached our gingerbread paper to our card base, and you can see it's cut a little bit smaller than our A2 card base. I'm then going to add a fish-tailed tag and topper using this Mama Elephant die set, and I'll glue on to the top of my tag the little decorative piece out of a scrap of the red checked pattern paper. And I've got that popped up on some foam tape, and now I'm just showing you how I worked out to get those puffy letters for the sentiments off the acetate using a piece of low tack sticky tape, and I'm just very carefully peeling back each of the letters and making sure that they're stuck onto that low stick tack tape. I'm then going to take the tape, and you can see that it's semi-transparent so it's easy to see through, and I'm going to rub over the top of the letters to help them adhere onto my tag. And doing it this way means that I have got my letters exactly how they were positioned on the acetate, and they're in line and the right distance between each of the letters. So I hope that's a helpful little tip for you guys as well. Now for the fun part, I'm going to take my little gingerbread men, and there's an example of one, and I'm going to pop them underneath the edge of my tag. So I have left a gap between the border of the tag and where the foam tape is, just to make sure there's room to pop my little gingerbread people underneath the tag. And I am putting my tag back just to check that I have placed them so that their little belly buttons are showing and that they go the length of my tag. And so we've got 3 little gingerbread people up around the top border of the card. I'm then going to pop a little gingerbread person in the V shape of our tag, and I'm just attaching and making sure that he is nice and centered. I'm then going to go around and place 3 more of my gingerbread people along the bottom edge of my tag. And you can see my gingerbread, I've tried to vary the colours of their icing as well as their buttons, just so we got lots of interesting things to look at. and to also bring in some of the green that I've used for our sentiment on our tag. Once I'm happy and they're dry, I've removed the backer from my foam tape for my tag, added a little glue, and then I'm going to place that squarely on top. I'll give that a little bit of time to dry, and in the meantime I've made a double bow out of some red and white twine, and I'm popping that onto my tag and letting that dry. Now I felt like the right side needed something else there to fill in that blank. So I've taken another little gingerbread person, popped it up on a little bit of foam tape. Then I found this cheerful chipboard sentiment from our chipboard pack, and I'm attaching that so it looks like our gingerbread man is holding on to the sign. And I really had lots of fun colouring and playing with the gingerbread man stamp and working out decorations and just having fun making them all little individual people. Here in card 9 I'm using one of my favourite papers from the pattern pack with all the sort of scramble of Christmas lights, and I'm covering the front of my card base. I have then taken some of our gold foiled cardstock and I've run that through that dotty embossing folder so that it also looks like snowfall. I'm taking our pink square shaped frame and peeled off our backing tape and then added some glue, and I'm going to pop this onto my card so that it's centered and it's in a diamond shaped position. I put some blocks on there to make sure it's had time to attach itself to the gold. I've then taken our gingerbread house die cut and I've gone ahead and embellished the roof with some Nouveau crystal dewdrops, and I've got the colours here. We've got holly berries, iceberg blue, and we also have pink aura. So they're the three colours I've used to decorate the dots on the roof. I've got some foam tape in the middle of the card to hold it up in the centre, and then some glue on the edges to help it attach to the frame. I then have made a cluster of little sweet treats from our die cuts, and I have glued those onto each other. And also you'll see that I've used some of the red crystal Nouveau drops to go over the holly berries. That was a little tricky. They did want to sort of merge into each other. So I will come back later and use a white gel pen just to go over the smudges that were left behind by the Nouveau drops just running a little out of place, and I've had to try and put them back into place. So I'm using my sparkle pen to make it look like our sugared lolly is sugared. On scrap white card I have stamped and embossed using stamps from our card kit a sentiment, and then I've die cut that with a flag or fishtail banner die, and I've popped that up onto some foam tape and also added a red twine bow, and I am aligning the edge of my fishtail banner to the edge of the card, and it's going to overlap slightly the diamond shape at the bottom. I'm then making sure my bow is nicely attached and that my strings will hang in the exact position that I want. Give that a chance to dry, and then my card is all finished, and you can see the lovely dimension on the card as well. Card number 9, I went through my own papers and found this tealy blue coloured paper. It just matched in better with the paper and that I want to use for this card. So this has come from my stash, and now I've used the red and white striped pattern paper, and I've cut this bubble cloud frame, and I'm going to attach that to my card. And it's one that you've got to be a little bit careful with, just to try and make sure everything's lined up so you can then put your center paper in. And as you can see, I had to wriggle my candy cane paper so it would go in nicely. I'm then using the coordinating large rectangular chipboard frame, and I'm turning it into a shaker, and I'm going to put inside some of these really cute gingerbread house shapes along with some snowflakes and a couple little gemstones there. And I'm also then going to bring in some of these confetti, octagonal confetti, and they're from Spellbinders, and they're beautiful and very reflective and a nice rich red colour as well. So I've got them piled up in the centre of my card, and I'll pop my shaker frame on top, make sure we've got a nice seal there. Then I'm bringing in some candy canes, more of that red and white and pink and white striped pattern to go with all the frame and the candy canes in the background as well. And I'm just popping a little bit of foam tape underneath the outside candy cane, and then I'll go ahead and add little bits of glue just in areas where it's needed, making sure I don't apply too much because I don't want any seepage from the candy canes onto the acetate. I've used the fancy oval dies from earlier and then gone ahead and stamped my sentiment on there. Now I'm just showing that I've had to build up different levels of backing for my sentiment, for where it overhangs onto the card and where it also needs to attach to the shaker frame itself. And I've taken our chipboard bow and I'm going to attach that to the top of my sentiment. I think that's a really cute finishing touch. Now I've come in with my Stickles glitter glue, and I've created a frame with it around the candy cane paper, and then gone ahead and where the white stripes are on my candy canes, went across each of those white diagonal lines and made them sparkly as well. And that finishes off my card. My final card uses the white background paper that has the red, green and pink plaid design on it, and that's going to cover the entire face of the card. I've then taken a piece of the stripy paper, which is in the same colours as the plaid or our checked background, and I'm going to attach that to the bottom portion of my card. I'm going to build a Christmas scene here, and this is going to be the bottom section for all my elements to attach to. So I'm just working out my placement there, making sure I'm happy with where I'm going to position things. And you can see I've made a Christmas tree using the die set and added some gems for the baubles. I've then got my little pussycat and I've popped him or her up on some thicker foam tape so that we've got the cat coming towards us more in the foreground. The fireplace is going to be glued directly to the pattern paper, as will some of the presents I'm adding there to the right hand side. That green present has got foam tape underneath, so we've got that coming more into the foreground as well. To finish off the top of my card, I'm taking these lovely scalloped patterned cardstock pieces, and I'm going to glue those to the top of the card. And it does need two of them, so you've got that nice continuous design. And I'm not worried about where they're joined because I'm bringing in my gold heat embossed sentiment, and that's going to be placed so it covers up that join in the 2 die cut pieces. I'm then going to go and add in a third present. I just felt that was a little bit of empty space there, and adding another present helped fill that in. I'll trim off that excess border, and the card is all finished. So let's go back and have a look at all 10 cards that we've made today. And I really hope that you've enjoyed watching me and the processes I've used. If there's anything you'd like to see more of or more detail of, please let me know in the comments. I would love to get feedback from you as to any favourite cards or favourite techniques. And I also hope that I've given you some ideas on different ways to use those frames. I still have some left, so I will be using them in some further projects coming up soon. Until next time, I hope you're having a great day or evening, and that you're finding time to have some crafty fun as well. Please consider giving me a thumbs up if you've enjoyed my cards today, and subscribing as well. Until next time, bye bye for now.